Welcome to the Blackburn End Podcast. We hope you had a great Christmas full of joy and excitement because, let's be honest, Santa forgot to deliver Rovers some goals. So before I get into the headlines, I'll warn you there are a lot and they are wordy. So deep breath, I'm hoping I'll get them all right, but I'm not promising anything. So Rovers kicked off the Christmas period with a sterling 0-0 draw away at Borough. Borough fans were complimentary of Rovers, wondering why we were so low in the table as they felt the game was there for us to take. But Rovers are brewing another injury as Makhtar is set for a spell on the sidelines. Mm-hmm. Rovers stayed on the road and had another trip across the Pennines, but once again a 0-0 draw was delivered against Sheffield Wednesday. It's 2 home games in a row now as we face 11th placed Wrexham and 20th placed Charlton. After some tired performances, fans are calling for signings galore, but it's the outgoing Tyjon that has triggered us once again as a starlet is set to leave for pastures new. Someone else who looks like they're going to be out the door is Gueye, who has been publicly put on the naughty list by Ismaël. So have all the wishes run out for Makhtar? And I'm really milking the Christmas theme here, by the way, but it turns out Santa was late in delivering us the eagerly awaited anniversary kit as a strange marketing decision, has it released after Christmas, and it's now being used in 2026, which is our 151st year. But strange, but hey-ho, that is Rovers for you. So I'm going to catch my breath now. I'm going to milk it once again. Mark, what did Santa bring you other than that fantastic hat?
Well, I'll be honest, it's a secret. Reuse this from last year. Santa brought me, Mike, a dartboard, and I'm having far too much fun. Fortunately, the darts are on telly. That's making up for Rovers. I didn't go to the game at Sheffield Wednesday. I was gonna do. I saw it was £30. I saw it was £7.45. It was on Sky. I thought no, but that left me with a bigger dilemma. Because whilst I was watching the game, I thought, I reckon I could skip about 60 minutes of this and watch another darts game and probably miss nothing. I wish I'd have done it. I didn't. But, two very similar but very different games to get into, I think.
Well, let's get into the darts. What do you think of Luke Littler? He's now become the heel. It's all over social media today about him having to go at the fans after he got booed. I mean, it's like this in all sports, isn't it? You see someone rise to fame and do so well, and you're either going to love them or you're going to hate or wait around long enough to be hated. And it seems like he's now becoming the heel a little bit.
Do you know what? I felt so sorry for him. I mean, there's a subplot to this. I know far too much about this, but subplot to it in that there's about 50% German fans in there. Now, me personally, nothing against Germany. Other than 1996, that did upset me. But that was more to do with Gazza's short legs. Luke Littler, on the other hand, gets booed every time he goes to Germany. He's quite vocal. He doesn't like going there. Was getting some real pelters. And you just saw a lad who's just won a close match. He's getting pelters for the first time. He's 18. Microphone shoved in his, grill about 30 seconds after he's won. I can imagine Valérien Ismaël wouldn't be too complimentary after a game. So what we saw was a young boy lose his head. And I thought his press conference after, if anyone's seen that, was great. They said, Luke, did you lose your head? He was like, yeah, I think I've still left it up there. I completely lost it. It was a head loss. And it was a schoolboy thing, weren't it? I'm not bothered. I am not bothered. But I felt sorry for him. I thought, do you know what? He's going to get some grief here. His choice of words were poor, but he's 18. How many 18-year-olds that are in that situation? They're not. We probably make errors to this day, Mike, let alone at 18. So I'm just glad there weren't many videos, microphones around when I was 18.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? Everything's on TV now. Everything's on social media. If you can clip it onto a reel or a TikTok, that's it. And these kind of things happen quite a lot. And you see it in all sports as well. It doesn't matter what country you're in, what sport it is. If you've just won something and your emotions are high, you've got to be extremely calm and extremely experienced to really keep your head. I mean, to be honest, I quite like the emotion of a player when they come out, any sport, and do it. I mean, some of my favourite sportsmen are always the ones that are classed as bellends. So yeah, I just found that one quite interesting today. But there was 2 games, obviously, getting on to Rovers now. One of them was interesting, one of them wasn't. The one that was interesting was the first one, and this was Middlesbrough away, and this was our initial match reaction to the 0-0. Okay, well, first off, Merry Christmas, mate. Second thing, I enjoyed that game. I know it was 0-0, but I really enjoyed it. It was end-to-end. I think as a neutral, you've got to enjoy those kind of games. I thought it was just going to come down to the team that took their chances. Neither team could. I thought we could have had something. Oh, there was a red card in there as well, in my opinion, but I'm not sure if I'm disappointed that we didn't grab a winner or if I'm happy that we got a point. But, I mean, a point's a point. If we can go to Sheffield Wednesday now and get 3 points, I'll be really happy with 4 over the 2 games. So that's kind of where I'm at. I just think it just shows the state of the squad that we've had to patch something together. But fair play to them. They gave as good as they got. And, yeah, Pears made some good saves. Defensively, we did okay. Midfield, we created. And strikers, they had some chances. But, yeah, relatively happy.
Well, Mikey boy, I'm not going to grumble at that. A draw at Middlesbrough is a great result, really. But when you look at the reflection of the game, I think we were good Johnson short of 3 points. I thought first half, we didn't really get a kick for about 10 minutes. Then we settled into it. Another decent performance from Litherland. Tronstad was class. Thought defensively we looked solid. There were a couple of moments where Miller got caught. The more I watch George Pratt, the more I'm convinced he's going to be a good one. He got beaten once when he went tight and didn't make that error again. He got beaten once when he didn't go tight enough against Whittaker. Didn't make the same mistake again. Didn't give Whittaker a sniff in the second half. I'm really proud of him today. I felt sorry for him that we looked short of somebody up front. I'm not going to make the obvious comment about our striker situation, but I think you go away to Middlesbrough. I know they were losing bodies at the same time, and you're disappointed really not to get 3 points. It's fair play to them. I've got full pride in them today, and I just hope we go and get what we need in the January window. On to Sheffield Wednesday. Don't let us down, boys.
Well, first off, yes, I was in a toilet recording that, and I think you could tell. Luckily, I'd flushed and washed my hands beforehand. Going on to the match, I came away from that feeling like a little bit guilty of what I'd been saying over the previous couple of weeks. I know we'd had a couple of decent results, but I can be a reactive fan like most people. So like I was coming away from some games and I was like, well, what does Ismaël actually offer? This, that and the other, and these players aren't doing it. But I came away from the Borough game pretty positive, and I want to kind of ignore the Sheffield Wednesday game. We are going to have the Sheffield Wednesday game kind of blended into this in a second, but just after the Borough game, I was quite positive.
Yeah, it's caused me to sort of reflect on Ismaël's season, if you like. I think away from home against teams that ordinarily on paper should be beating us, we've now consistently at a point where we can say, you know what, we are overachieving against those teams. That is our niche, and it's a good trick to have. I think we looked incredibly defensively sound, and that caused me to look at the stats. And I think these are right as of now, so after the Sheffield Wednesday game. But I think I'm right in saying that only 5 teams have conceded less than us. But the problem is in the other stat that only 2 have scored less than us. And that is exactly what was shown. I felt really, really sorry for them. I think I've said before, it takes a decent manager to coach a team defensively. It takes a very good one and some quality to coach them attacking wise. And we like Go Johnson, exactly what I'd said on the thing. I thought Middlesbrough were talking about being leggy. They were talking all these kind of things. The same can be said for us. Look at how threadbare our already poor squad is. And I think we looked at the back 6, if you include Pears, and I thought they looked incredibly solid. I think there was some decent performances from people. I thought Ohashi looked tired, but worked his Goalless off as he always does. Henriksen, I felt really, really sorry for. I thought Henriksen, I couldn't have asked him to do any more from his skill set. He was out of position. He did everything he could. So if you're not going to have the quality or the know-how to play a role, at least give 110%. And he did that and more. And I think there's some real positives to take away from it, but some clear areas to work on, mainly for the January transfer window.
Yeah, I mean, I felt a bit sorry for Axel. He's a young lad. He's come from a different country. He's got a lot to settle into. He hasn't got any family around, I assume. So he's got a lot to do. But he's still showing quite a lot of enthusiasm, and he comes out and he looks like he's giving his all. It's just he's got to have time to settle, and we haven't got time for that to happen. But my confusion was, I'm really impressed with Litherland and Pratt. I think I completely agree with what you said. I think Pratt has just come in and taken his chance. Things that we've spoken about the last couple of weeks, but I think we have got a good in there. I think he is someone that looks like he's going to, be a real good, solid player for us. A Scott Wharton 2.0, but maybe better. I don't know. Let's debate that in a few weeks. But Litherland, he came on, and I was really impressed with him. And all I kept thinking was, you've got two players there that are playing really well. They've come out the youth system. There was no expectation that they were going to get any game time this year, but they go against a very good Borough side that are quite difficult to break down, and they looked quite good. So why is Axel up top? Well, surely we should be giving another young player. Now we know why Tyjon hasn't been playing, but I just thought that these are the kind of games where you just think, you know what? Let's just put a young lad up top. There's got to be one that has an opportunity to come on and maybe start a game. I just found it really weird because Gueye's obviously out the door. Axel doesn't play that position. It's a perfect opportunity to give a young player a chance, especially when you've had two other players come into the team and do so well.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to have to talk about George Pratt again, and I'm going to make no apologies actually for it. I think one thing that's really, really impressed me with George Pratt, above all else, and there's a lot of things that have impressed me with him, is how quickly, and I mentioned it in my reaction, how quickly he learns from mistakes and he doesn't make that mistake again. And that's a sign of a good player, because you can coach them certain things, but then in game, how do they react? Do they improve? Do they learn? Do they get the better of the striker? And I said it at Wrexham, Kiefer Moore is a very, very solid, bit of a bully of a striker at times, a clever championship striker. Got the better of him once, didn't happen again. Morgan Whittaker, at one point he got too tight to him and he spun away. At one point he gave him too much room and he got a shot off, and I didn't think he thought he could do. Made neither of them mistakes again. But the theme is now spreading. So you saw Matty Litherland, who's a centre-half, and my concerns about him, been open about this before. I've seen him play right back, and I worry about him on the turn. I don't think he's that quick at turning. Says me. Anyone who's seen me play football, milk turns faster. But I was a bit worried about that, and I think he that's not even showing up at all. I think he looks confident. He's a centre-half, and he's playing on the right wing-back. He looks confident on the ball. He's taking first touch, is immaculate every time. He's playing one touch when he needs to do. And then you watch Nathan Dlamini come on. As a young lad who's come on and you've got a bit of a chance and you think, I'm not really expecting this. What we kind of expect is a bit of over-exuberance, running around, probably not even touching the ball, maybe making a bit of a challenge that's a bit naughty because they're overextending, trying to impress. I saw him come on, drop into sort of a 10 role at various times and ask for the ball rather than running beyond. They all look confident boys. Now, that's full credit to them, full credit to the academy, and full credit to the first team, including coaching staff, for the way they've made them feel comfortable. These players are walking into the team and going, do you know what? I belong here. And I think they're probably getting more confidence from each other. That backs up your point. I think Henriksen, I felt really, really sorry for him. Yeah, he'll be delighted to get a chance. And I'm going to merge this into the Sheffield Wednesday game. To have him as the main and the furthest one forward, and Ohashi, who's already tired, running around, is bonkers. I think Henriksen in a 10 role, I can kind of get. understand a little bit. Henriksen as the focal point in the attack, I struggled with. And I think you look at the 21s and you're saying is there anyone? I mean, Valentin Joseph, I mean, I've seen him. From what I've seen, I don't watch him every day, doesn't look ready for the first team. But I wouldn't have said Litherland or Pratt were. And he's playing up front and he knows that role at the very least. I think if you're going to stick somebody up there and go, do you know what, at least just work really, really hard for us, maybe him. But I actually come back to the way that we've been playing and what I talked about a few weeks ago. And Ismaël and Adam Owen came up with this plan of formation while Cantwell was out, worked on it in an international break. And my worry for Ismaël is he doesn't seem to change it ever in game. And he doesn't seem to either be confident enough or willing to change it when he's not then got the personnel. So he didn't change it until an international break when we didn't have Cantwell and they've worked on it. He now won't change it even though Cantwell's back and then we've not got another striker. He's too almost inflexible. I think you've got to come up with the creativity of changing things up when it's not working. And that's where it worked to an extent. Defensively, we were very sound. So I'm not expecting him to radically change. But as I've praised George Pratt, in-game, makes real improvements. I only ever see Ismaël just make like-for-like substitutions, even if they're out of position. And I think what I would have liked to have seen him do there is go, do you know what, we look solid enough. Let's not mess with the formation here at the back and Tronstad sitting in front and absolutely running the show. But how do we create a few more chances? How do we get somebody with a bit more know-how further up the pitch? Is that Ohashi? Even Cantwell pushing him just behind or whatever. I just think there's an element of management there that I would like to see him improve. But I'm with you. I would rather have seen, as much as I think Henriksen's done all he could, I felt sorry for him. I would rather have seen a young lad, based on what we've seen of the others, given a go.
Yeah, well, you change the formation, like we said. I mean, it's we changed the formation when we lost Cantwell, and we could have changed it back to just having the one up front and keep Ohashi. I mean, I've said all along, I don't see Ohashi as a centre forward. I see him as a number 10, like dropping in, doing a little bit of buzz work. You can tell his instincts as a striker aren't quite where you want them to be. I think he is a goal scorer when he wants to be. He's just not clinical as often as we'd need to, and that's obviously why we've got Gudjohnsen. But like I said, it's stacked up against Henriksen when he's young from a different country, all of this, and then being asked to play in a new team, new system. Whereas the young lads, you've said before, they set the youth teams up, the younger teams up to know this formation. They know the pitches, they know the leagues. So their step up into the first team is probably a little bit different. And then they'll be playing a position that they know as well. So it's a different kind of excitement. And I've said plenty of times, when it's a youth player, they are extended a little bit more leeway than other players. I think as fans, we support them that little bit harder. I think we give them a little bit more time to settle, which is why we're so excited about Pratt and Litherland. I actually watched a game with some other fans and I said to them, what do you think of Pratt and Litherland? And they were just like, yeah, they're all right. But I actually took that as they're really good. If you're saying that these two players that have just come in are all right, I think that's high praise for two youth players that have just been thrown in after one was at Chorley and what was Litherland? Was he just in the under? He wasn't on loan, was he?
No, he was in 21 centre half right back.
Exactly. So that's the negative stuff of this game, and I do think we need to get it right. Borough had their chances. You know, we rode our luck at times, and I think both teams, and this is what I said in my reaction, the game was there for the taking. Just neither team took it, and I think we need to say that was the clean sheet earned, or was it that they wasteful? They could say the same thing for us. That it's not like they had to do lots of body on the line stuff. We missed some chances, but I came away with thinking, well, Baraji, really impressed with him. You know, we're not really impressed, but I was quite happy with his performance. I was really happy with Tronstad. Again, I'm just thinking that he's someone that we just need to get tied down to a contract. I think my biggest concern was obviously the striker, but other than that, I don't think there was much concern for me. It was just that striking position. Yeah. How much of it do you think comes from decision making in the final third, and how much of it comes from quality?
I think a lot of Ohashi's issues in that final third are down to that lack of pace. I think he looks tired as well, which is exasperating, that issue. But he just lacks that acceleration, doesn't he? And I think he knows he does. He's a clever player, Ohashi, so he's not somebody who's... Sometimes you want a striker to take a chance, even if it's not going to come off. We've talked about that with Good Johnson before, where he might hit 4 or 5 instinctive ones in the box that might get blocked. Ohashi almost looks at it and thinks that's probably going to get blocked. I'll not do it. And there's a couple of times where he was running through and he knew he's probably going to get back and catch me up, so I'll not take the risk. I think Henriksen is just not his role at all. I think going back to Pratt and Litherland briefly, exactly what you've just said, in that I think if you ask somebody to pick out, we've got 2 academy boys here that were not expected to even get them in the squad. Who are they? You wouldn't pick them out. George Pratt right now in particular looks like somebody who has just been there all the time. I don't even think of him as a young player anymore. I just think I'm not worried about him. I'm not concerned at all. We'll probably come on to what we'd have as our starting 11 in the next week or so. And I think for me, he has really, really earned his place. Not as a young player doing okay. I think he's earned his place. Litherland, I think we need a bit more time to say that right now. But up front, I think Henriksen gave everything he had in both games, but he's not a striker. That was his issue. His instincts aren't there. He was looking to not make errors, so he's trying to play people in too much when he could have gone on his own. But Ohashi, I think, just lacks that yard of pace. But I also think he's exhausted, and that plays a big part of it.
Yeah, I can't have a go at players if they're playing out of position. I can't have a go at players if they've been, absolutely flogged. I think I saw some people moaning on social media about Axel's performance. I think you've got to give him quite a bit of leeway. I moan about Ohashi. That's just because I have really high expectations from him, and it's not from a negative side. It's just from, oh mate, I know you can do better. But again, I have to have a word with myself and say, do you know what? I bet he is knackered, and I bet he can't prepare his body. And the way he plays, he is someone that probably needs to just be subbed off that little bit earlier, or, come on a bit later in the game. I've been getting a little bit frustrated with Cantwell again, and this could be one where the swords are out against me. There's just times with him, I just feel like I can see why he hasn't made it to the level he should have done, if that makes sense. So some of his decisions, some of his quality, I just feel like he's a little bit wasteful at times, not necessarily wasteful with the ball, but wasteful of an opportunity to do something. And I said before, was it a trust thing? Is he looking up and just thinking, well, I don't actually want to put the ball in there because I feel like Guye's not going to get onto it or something like that. But there was times where I looked at it and it was like just a little sideways pass and we're probably getting an opportunity. Or if we cut back and if we don't cut back and just stay on the front foot, we could maybe move on to the ball and look to get into that final third. But plenty of times I think he just stops and turns, or he just makes the wrong decision at times. Do you get the same feeling, or am I being a little bit harsh?
I didn't so much against Middlesbrough, but against Sheffield Wednesday, I was really disappointed in him. I thought it was one of the first times I've seen him. I've seen it all about him before, and that was like in the Hull games where he's got number 10. I've got the armband. I've got, this and that. And he grew in it. I thought against Sheffield Wednesday, he was dropping deep just for the sake of it, to have time on the ball, so he could almost look decent. I'll put my foot on the ball, I'll roll the ball, I'll roll my studs on the ball. And it was all very showing off without any end product. There was no real end products from him against Sheffield Wednesday. And I think at the beginning of the game, you're looking at the team like that and you're thinking, they're struggling. It's going to be a battle. Who's my quality? Who's my difference maker? There's been years gone by where we said, we just need that number 10 just to carve things open. That's what I needed him to be doing. Probably against Bury to some extent, but it was mainly against Sheffield Wednesday that I was really frustrated with him. I thought he was doing stuff that didn't benefit the team. It just made him look good if you clipped it up. with no actual product to it. And
I do feel like sometimes he kind of forgets himself a little bit, and he forgets where he is, and he forgets what he's doing, and he does like it being about him. You can just tell with how he keeps himself, how he is, that he does like it to him to be. And if we're being honest, if you're going to be the main man and run the show, you either need to have unreal ability or ability and a lot of physical, like a Schmodix, for example. And he hasn't got that pace. And I think that's what frustrates me, is if you haven't got the pace, you've got to then rely on your technical ability. And I think sometimes does he feel like he's better than he is? I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's times where he's in and around the box and he should be hitting the target. He should be forcing the keeper to make a real big save. I get his frustrations if he's in and around the box and he's playing balls that people aren't reading, and I could understand that. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about somebody who, if you want it to be all about you, go and make the difference in the game. Go and be 1-0 Rovers, Cantwell again. 1-0 Rovers, Cantwell assist again. I know he's had one chalked off against Ipswich earlier in the season, but his early season stats were great. They're now tailoring off. Now he's got massive strapping on his leg that looks ridiculous. Whether that's all needed or not, I don't know. But he strikes me as somebody who needs to feel 100% to be at his best. Otherwise, it's a little bit pointless sometimes having him. And I thought a bit like we talked about with Miller, with the long throw where it slows the game down for little impact, I felt like that was him against Sheffield Wednesday, that the game was being slowed down to play through him. But why? I didn't feel like that as much against Middlesbrough. But Sheffield Wednesday, he really frustrated me, if I'm being honest, yeah.
Well, let's finish the Borough game and then we can get on to the Sheffield Wednesday one. The red card, I genuinely questioned what I'd seen. I'd questioned my knowledge of the rules.
Yeah.
And I was a little bit dumbfounded. And then I was so glad when near enough all the social media outlets, all the content creators all picked it up and went on about it, because I was absolutely astounded. Now, it's obviously a red card. I know you're going to agree with me on that. But do you feel like our players should have acted a little bit differently to get him sent off? Or do you think did you like how they didn't get in the ref's face?
No, I think we got really good at that. I thought that was Travis to a T. He was flying into people's faces, but particularly the ref. Or Hashi's frustration shoved him. Get around the ref. Get at him. Travis, I mean, once upon a time, I remember hearing him at Ewood. Insert your own, well, the ground's empty jokes. But just screaming as if like, oh my God, but in the air. Like this was the worst tackle I've ever seen. Like this is like a horrific injury. And then up pops the player. It needed one of them, really, didn't it? I mean, I completely agree. It's a red card, obviously. And the clips going around are a joke. However, the rules, I can see why the referee hasn't. I don't agree with them, but I think this is where the rules let themselves down. So the three things that a ref takes into consideration are if it's careless, so they lack attention, you trip somebody up, whatever, no card. Reckless, disregard to the danger or consequence for an opponent. I think that's what the ref's gone with. And then the other one is using excessive force, endangering the safety of an opponent. Now, or out of control. I would say that is where this comes into. But the referee has obviously deemed that.
But isn't that class? It's not. That was classed in my eyes as more of a violent act because he was nowhere near the ball. He wasn't trying to get the ball. It wasn't even a trip up. It was. I mean, we've all done it with mates when we were younger, or some of us when we were older, where you just clip your mate's ankle a little bit when we're walking. That's a trip up. This was a full-on swing the boot and kick him. That's kind of where I was at with it.
It's serious foul play, isn't it? And if the referee's gone with the rules pertaining reckless, then the rules are wrong, not anything else. I mean, you can go and, well, let's go back to a Middlesbrough game not that long ago, a ghost of Christmas past, if you like. John Buckley throws a ball jokingly at somebody's head, red card, 3-match ban. Hayden Hackney, ironically named, hacks him at the knee, full pelt. I mean, it must be frustrating if you're getting the ball taken off you by Taylor Gordon-Heatman. And he was carrying a knock, to be fair, wasn't he, Hackney? So you get the frustration, but you can't just leather someone in the shin and get booked. It was, let's go with baffling. I'll go with that word.
I think the players just thought it's an inevitable red card. We don't need to get in the ref's face, kind of thing. But yeah, I do think it would have made a difference. I mean, that's 10 minutes. I mean, we can all go on about how, Ipswich game was called off and they said it's a long time, anything can change. Well, 10 minutes, we had plus injury time. We're against 10 men where we were doing quite well. I feel like it's once again something to add to Ismaël's list, because that kind of decision could have got us the 3 points.
Yeah, I almost forgot about Ismaël's list. He can definitely add it to it, but I think I would be very doubtful we would have scored if they'd have had 2 men taken off, let alone 1. But yeah, I thought we were defensively solid and it was a good away performance. And it was quite entertaining for a 0-0, wasn't it?
So have you got any 3-word reactions?
Yes. Missed Good Johnson today, by a striker, and James Robinson. This was my takeaway. Academy producing talent.
Well, they certainly were. So we leave that game. We find out Marista's out for a few weeks, which obviously he'd found some form. So that's very disappointing. But we go on to the Sheffield Wednesday game. Now, we normally do an audio reaction for every game, but we had technical issues this time. So I'm afraid we haven't got one. But I would like to know in the comments, do you actually like our initial reactions? They don't take a hell of a lot of effort, but they do take up time on the podcast. And obviously, we do this podcast for you guys. So just let us know. Do you like the match reactions or not? Do you prefer it when we're drunk or not drunk? Do you like it when we're in the toilet? Do you like walking away from games? It's up to you. Just leave a comment down below on that one. So what was can you think back to less than 24 hours ago? Full-time whistle goes. What was your initial reaction?
Was, what on earth have I just watched? That is 90 minutes of my life I am never getting back. That was my reaction, if I'm being perfectly honest, Mike. It was poor. It was the Championship this season. I have said numerous times now, the quality in it is appalling. I've yet to see a team come and look really good at Ewood. I saw Ipswich for 10 minutes in the first game that we played them, have some movement and some interplay that I thought, wow, I can't see how we're going to get to grips with this. And then we did, and they petered out. And I'm not seeing anything else from any other team, because I think we are poor. We're as poor as we've been for 10 years. And yet no team looks that much better than us. And never more has this been apparent than last night.
Well, I came away from the game thinking, if you can't beat a team that's playing as badly as what they are and giving you as much space as what they did, then it's a pretty damning situation. Now, I came away from the Borough game thinking, have I been harsh to Ismaël? What we've questioned, what does he offer? And then I came from this game thinking, do you know what? I feel sorry for him again. That he's probably earned the right to be backed a little bit more than what previous managers have, because the squads have gradually got worse for, whether we haven't got that top quality. So the ceiling's been high with like a Schmodix, a Diaz, Brereton Diaz, and Adam Armstrong, so on. We haven't got anyone in that calibre. But the amount in the probably lowest tier has increased in our squads. Again, this is something we're going to talk about in the next couple of weeks. But the players in the lowest tier of squad quality has increased the amount, and he's having to work wonders with this. And I felt sorry for him after this game, because he's having to come out, he's having to explain certain situations with players and so on. But I felt like that first half, we had so much time and space on the ball. I'm just wondering if the players just thought, again, to use the term inevitable, that there was a little bit of, like, oh, we're going to get a goal. We're going to get one. We have to get one. But we was being a little bit wasteful. I mean, we had, was it 14 shots, something like that? And, you know, we weren't hitting the target. We weren't challenging their keeper. And I was just starting to think, were the players being a little bit arrogant, maybe a little bit, I don't know, wasteful? I don't know. I just came away thinking I wasn't quite happy with the attitude of some of the players. Yeah, that it felt very Sunday League for quality, and it felt like we allowed that to happen.
Yeah, I think we started okay. We were moving the ball against teams who were lacking in confidence and quality. You've got to move the ball quick and make them feel that difference in quality. And we're not used to having to do that. That's one element here, that this is not the way we normally play. We had lots of the ball, but I thought we moved it quite well early on. We had a couple of chances. We whipped the ball in a bit. It comes also back to the fact that we're very, very blunt up front. But as the game went on, we gradually took more and more touches. So that two-touch football became, oh, I've just miscontrolled it. I'll get it out of my feet. And you can see where the game's going. And my worry was that it was going to bite us on the arse even more than it did.
Well, they did have their chances, didn't they?
Yeah. And I feel sorry for Ismaël. I think absolutely. You're never looking at the bench, really. You could toss a coin whether he should have played Pickering and give Hedges a rest. You could argue maybe he should have done X, Y, and Z, but there's not really many things he could do other than the forward line. And the big talking point really for me was obviously, even if Gueye's going, even if Tyjon's going, are you cutting your nose off to spite your face? Because the options that we were using up there were clearly not working. Now, I think there was a technical element in it as well, tactical more than anything. Having Henriksen as the furthest forward was bizarre because Ohashi should be on the shoulder. When Ohashi's tired, I mean, there was a point where he ran back the length of the pitch and intercepted one of their counter-attacks. Love the fact that he does that. But when he's tired, when he's running low on energy and we desperately need him to be the focal point, keep him in the width of the box, keep him doing what he was doing in pre-season, just running beyond, simplify his game for him, simplify the amount of kilometres he's going to be running, and let someone else do the running for him. That's one tweak I would have made. But other than that, you look at the bench, you look at the other option, you think the only two that you could really say have a question for him, and he answered them, were Tyjon and Gueye. I mean, where do you stand on what he said and whether you will be playing them?
Sorry, Matt, say that again. You broke up a little bit. It
Sorry.
was a really bad time for you, the connection to go a little bit.
I was just saying, where do you stand on, obviously, Ismaël's answered the questions about Tyjon and Gueye. He's very honest. But where do you stand on whether you would still be playing them both?
So Gueye's an obvious no now because he's come out and claimed that he's not training hard enough. He's not running hard enough. He's not got the quality. So I think that's a definite no. The Tyjon one, it sounds like the contract decision was made a few weeks ago. So that's a difficult one. If you truly believe that he's not ready and he's not going to offer any quality in a game, fair enough. But there's got to have been someone there in that youth level that you could have popped in. And it could have been Dlamini. It really could have been.
Yeah.
But all this I'm hearing about Tyjon, from what we've seen, just give him a chance. And it's maybe your last shot at getting him some in the contract room and saying, look, I've given you a game, I really think, or maybe it adds value when it goes to what's it called, tribunal. You know, so I think Axel has shown he cannot play up front. And whether this is, again, an arrogance thing, thinking, well, it's only Sheffield Wednesday away, they're crap. We can just chuck anyone up front and he'll go and get himself a goal. It could be that, but I can't see it being that. I do think it's a cut your nose off to spite your face. Or maybe, I've said in the past with managers, sometimes I do feel like when you're coming up to a transfer window, you're kind of trying to prove a point to the board. And you're like, yeah, look what the crap I'm having to put out there. Back me, and this won't happen again. So it had an element of that. So to answer your question, Gueye, I think he's gone. I think it's pretty obvious that he's going to be gone. He's shown nothing at all to prove that he should be starting or even coming off the bench. The Tyjon one, personally, I would have played him. But I do think there's an element of, sticking your nose up at the board a little bit.
Yeah, and I just think it comes back to, I know it's boring, so we'll not go over it too much, but the beginning of the season, he was happy with the squad, and he's turned around and said a couple of things recently whereby, well, we've changed formation, so we weren't expecting to need that much cover. We knew we needed more cover than 3 strikers.
It's funny, isn't it?
And the same in defence. We're linked with Ben Gibson today. The experience. My only concern with that is, does that block Conor O'Riordan's pathway? Do we need an experienced centre half? I think we have done. But ironically, Conor O'Riordan appears to be coming back. He's been playing well in League One. Now you don't want to block his pathway, and you start worrying about that kind of thing. But going to the strikers, I got the feeling what you've just said there. I think he was almost going, well, you've given me these tools. Look what's happening. I need more. And he's come out, hasn't he, and said that they know what they need to do. They need to do it early. I'm absolutely amazed. I mean, Man City have just gone and bought Antoine Semenyo, if rumours are to be believed, and he'll come on the first. And Brennan Johnson might be going to Crystal Palace. I think they've said that might be done on first. Blackburn Rovers are not making a signing for money before the last day of the transfer window. Certainly not the last week.
No, we like to scrape around, don't we? It is an interesting one because the one thing I came away from the Sheffield Wednesday game was that 2 of the calmest players on the pitch were Litherland and Pratt. There was obviously more, but and I want to get into pairs a little bit later. Just remind me because I do want to get into pairs.
Oh, I will.
But I thought Litherland and Pratt were 2 of the calmest players. And I put the tweet out saying, we should look at our youth system. It's similar to what we said about Harry Leonard last week. It's like, we should have a look at this, lads. And what's crazy is we're seeing these things as supporters. This isn't just me and you chatting shit on a podcast the last couple of years talking about this. We are seeing other fans. We're not some oracle. We are seeing other fans going on about these great youth system that we've got. These players that are coming through that are fantastic. They are coming when they get their chances. They're doing well. I don't know many young players that have come through that we haven't gone, do you know what? He's all right. I mean, you can have a think while I carry on ranting. But like Harry Leonard, I get that you put out the reel for us about that, and we got people coming in saying, "Oh well, he was injured and this, that, and the other." Well, you've answered that. He was injured, but it's not linked, and he's showing that he can score goals for Blackburn, and he showed that he was scoring goals where he is now. So it's pretty obvious that we had someone there that we could have used, but we won't bang on about Harry Leonard, I promise. But there are going to be young players in that youth system that could come through and play. And this is now what's frustrating me. You've got a team that needs help. We have a very good youth system. This is the perfect opportunity. We have said you need to blend experienced players with young players. Well, what's happened when we brought these young players in? They seem to ignite a little bit more, and they ignite the fans. So why not just give someone an opportunity? I mean, this Dlamini, he's not looked fantastic, but we've supported him. Give him an opportunity. You never know. We didn't think George Pratt was going to have a future at the club. Now we're talking that he's the second coming. Litherland, he's come on. playing slightly out of position, he's doing a decent job. He's doing better than others have. I find it crazy. And just to finish off, the Harry Pickering situation. There's now talk that he's going to be going. He came on and he did great. He's always been that 6 or 7 out of 10, exactly what you've said. He got an opportunity. He did well. Now he would be taking a position away from my boy Ryan Hedges, but you've got to keep players like that. And I just find it really, really strange. And like I said, I came away from the Sheffield Wednesday game just thinking, why are we not dipping into the youth more? Because I can't remember many that have come on and disappointed us as fans.
No, I mean, it feels harsh to be having a pop at them because they are giving youth a chance now. And they did say they were waiting for a settled squad and things. I think the Henriksen one is the obvious one. That should have been. They obviously didn't feel somebody was ready, but I would like to have seen either Dlamini given a chance from the start, although he's more of a wide forward. Aidan Doherty's obviously made the bench. He's somebody we signed from Ireland. He was playing in a Irish Premiership, wasn't he, a couple of years ago? But again, more of a wide player. But Valentin Joseph's a bit more of a unit, really. And you've got to remember, we are a Category 1 academy. So we have gone and got people like Kozia Jubre, whether they performed or not, on loan out of other teams under 21 academies. So ours should be at a similar level. Yes, you would expect Arsenal's to be slightly better, Man City's. I understand that point. But really, ours should be at a similar-ish level. And if we're not going to give them a chance, then that depreciates their value as well. I would have liked to have seen them than given a go, but I think you're right. I think what's impressed me has been George Pratt's mentality, the way he's recovered, the way he's learned, the way he's improved, how calm he's been on the ball. Matty Litherland's mentality, first touch, been impeccable until he's got absolutely knackered, and then the odd thing's gone astray. But his first touch has been right. It's either been out his feet or it's been
lovely turns as well.
Really, and he is a centre half. This is not his normal position at all. I think Dlamini's come on, look confident enough. I just think we are getting something very, very right in this academy, and give people a go. Because the next Tyjon might be currently 14 and sat there looking at it and going, I am going to get a chance again, because there's been a period of time where we've worried about that. Let's not get away from that either. But
this is the thing, when we've talked about the arrogance of the people recruiting and that they want it to be their players coming through. What they don't understand is if a young player comes through and fills a position, that is more budget they can spend elsewhere.
Yeah.
So instead of looking, if you go and get yourself, say you're looking for a left back and a striker, and then you get a left back coming through from the youth team, well, now you've doubled your budget for your striker.
Yeah.
And it's like, these are the perfect opportunities to give these lads a chance just to see how they do. There are some experiments are going to fail, and there are some experiments that we can see have failed, but yet we still keep trying to do it, and that's what's strange.
Yeah, and I think, listen, some of these lads will come off, some will have a decent ceiling that we brought in, but Harry Pickering, I have to mention that. I'm glad you brought him up. When we've moved to a wing-back formation, it's even more baffling that you want to get rid of him. He's definitely better than Ribeiro at that role. He's a million times better than Deon Deneva in that role. And I'm so glad he proved it the other day. And if they're going to get rid of, what is he, 27, 28, in his prime, he's English, we're not going to get fortunes for him. Let's not kid ourselves. This isn't somebody that we can, we'll get a couple of million and then we'll spend that somewhere else. You're going to get peanuts for him. Probably the same money that we bought Deneva for. Idiotic if you sell Harry Leonard. There we go. There's a Freudian slip. Harry Pickering, it is absolutely bonkers. For me,
so weird.
It should be him and Hedges. And when you're playing a wing-back formation, then they have to do, 14 kilometres? You can rotate them. You have to rotate them. And there's two that I would trust. Or, last 20 minutes of a game, we brought Pickering on. All of a sudden, magical. We've not conceded. Who'd have thought it?
And that's the thing. I mean, we're having all these experiments with these signings, and they are risky signings. We said they're always going to be risky signings. You can't tick every box when you're Blackburn Rovers on the budget that we've got. We should have more on the budget, but that's a different conversation. But Deneve, it's Deneva. It's not working out. So you've just got to say, do you know what? It's only going to harm him, which harms the club. Let's just pop him out on loan and see if we can build something there. That's failed. Right, that spot's gone. Let's loan him out somewhere. Ribeiro, he's a good player, but I prefer Pickering. And like we say, Hedges has already proven he can play that position. You don't need more than 2 players there. So maybe you just look at Ribeiro and just say, do you know what, mate? We're going to look to move you on. We haven't got the time. We haven't got the money. We're going to have to move you on. Or you look at maybe a different position for him. O'Riordan, if he comes back, unless they're looking to loan him out again, but I can't see them doing that. So if he's coming back, then he's coming back to be part of the squad. So then that takes that left centre back out of it, because you've got Pratt that's playing there. Obviously, Wharton's going to come back. So it looks like they are trying to get bodies into the defensive positions. I just find the Pickering one very, very strange. And it does seem like maybe he's making noises and just saying, look, I'm not playing enough. You're not going to play me. I want to move on. And if that's the case, just come out and say it. Don't let us think. But it's a very strange decision, that Pickering one. I feel like we're moving away from the Sheffield Wednesday game. So do you want to finish off with a 3-word reaction?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things here. So one was from the halftime GIF. I couldn't not mention this. It summed it up perfectly. So halftime, there was a few people putting a snoozing GIF out there. But there was Mike Bassett, England manager. He throws a teapot, everything else. Love that from Donald. We had a couple that I would mention from Food Tech Teacher, another clean sheet, and Ozan Akin, need a striker. How different are 2 polar opposites of what you've seen in a game there?
Well, they're needing the striker. We've got Goodjohnson, and I think we've spent money on him. We've seen what he can do. He is the striker, but we've proven that you can't just have him on his own, especially with the injuries that we're getting. So let's just talk about the fact that we've got 2 games coming up with Wrexham and Charlton. They're not going to be easy games. They're obviously the one's on the 1st, one's on the 4th. Are we going to need to rotate, or do you think you're just going to see Ismaël doing the same thing?
I think you have to rotate. I think you what's going to happen is, if you don't, you will end up with injuries, muscle injuries, and we can't afford them to Tronstad. I mean, good God, can you imagine if Ohashi went and got a hamstring injury, which is on Thursday night? For me, there's logical ones. You've got Pickering, should be coming in for Hedges, give him a rest. I think you have less obvious ones, though, up front, and that is the problem now. We are probably going to have to flog Ohashi, but what I would do is what I'm talking about, rotation, change his position with Henriksen, minimise the amount he has to run, and just tweak that slightly. I think there's the things in-game you can do. I think Litherland looks absolutely shot. He's been getting 60 minutes at Middlesbrough. He was blowing out his backside. So was Henriksen. I think you just got to be careful. I know they've done okay, but he did it really well with Pratt. He took him out of the firing line one game, took him off at half-time one game, took him out of the firing line the next game. And it wasn't that he was playing poorly. You could just see he was knackered. And they just put him straight back in. And now we're reaping the benefits of that. And I think he just needs to be careful that he doesn't overplay people. I mean, if he really wants, he could put Hedges on the right wing back. We've seen that work before. So we need to have a real physical battle against Wrexham and be up for that. And you need people that can stand up to that. Now, we've seen that the back 3 that we've got can do that. can the fullbacks, if they're a bit lethargic, a bit knackered? Maybe not. So I would be rotating in those positions. And I would certainly rotate in the middle of the park because I'm not sure whether I was less aware where Musa Baraji was at the beginning of the season or last night because he was non-existent.
He's so relaxed that when it's not, you can just tell he's someone that doesn't necessarily want to grab the game by the scruff of the neck and take control. Yeah, I do think there's a play there. I think we're going to enjoy. I think we're going to enjoy his production when it eventually starts. I think what's interesting is obviously it's the 1st of Jan, so Reardon will be back. There is potential that
I'm quite sure how that works because you have to re-register them, haven't you? And the registration window opens on the 1st, I think. So he might not. That was my initial thought. He might not be able to play because.
So I thought if they were registered at the start of the season as you're playing loaned out, I thought you was okay.
Okay.
We're not sure on that one, but he might be available for the Charlton game, obviously.
Oh, certainly will be. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's potential that you could have Miller going out onto the right, which is technically his natural position. And then you could have O'Riordan there. There's a lot of changes that could be done. It's just all up in the air. I mean, I'm really worried about these injuries. I know all squads have them, but I just get worried about how often they're happening and how we're flogging players so much. All clubs do it. I get that. I just want us to be a bit more sensible with how we do things, and that comes down to squad depth and maybe the sports scientists kind of taking control a little bit and maybe saying to the manager, "You can't play this player. If you play this player, you can either play him for this 90 minutes and you lose him for 3 weeks." Yep. Or you can rest him and you get him fresh for the next 3 weeks. I feel like there needs to be someone taking control here because it is getting worse. It's a bit disappointing.
It's worrying. Yeah. While you were talking there, I have just brought up our squad list that we registered with EFL, and Conor O'Riordan is not listed on it.
So how old is he?
O'Riordan. Oh, jeez. Now you're asking. I feel like we've just gone 22. Let's have a look. There you go. This is great podcasting, this.
Yeah, it's 22 on the 19th of October. Because I wasn't sure on the registration list, on the registration rules. But no, I mean, we'll wait and see on that one. But we definitely need to see some rotation. I mean, Ben Gibson's now being mooted as a name that we might go and get. There's other players that we're being linked to. There's a Barnsley player as well. I think the Wrexham game, he's going to go with what he's seen. But I think we might see some rotation for the Charlton game. Then we've got the FA Cup game after that. Can you really see? I know you've answered this already, but I want to start talking about it now. But can you really see us making these transfers early? Because we've got to let's assume this is what's happening. Let's assume Pickering's going. Let's assume Gueye's going. Tyjon's obviously a non-factor, and O'Riordan's coming back. We're now talking about Ben Gibson coming in on loan. Can you really see us getting this business done early?
Well, history will tell us no, wouldn't it? I mean, Ben Gibson coming on loan would go against absolutely everything they've said at the beginning of the season. We don't want loan players. We don't want people to develop them for other people. But we also don't want people unless we're going to make it permanent. Now, maybe that's what they're looking at doing. Who knows? Experience. We didn't need any of that either. So it would be an odd one. Can we get it done early? I mean, Sahil's been to India, so you would imagine or hope, let's hope, that they were talking about budgets and things like that you would have thought would already be in place. But anyway, so there needs to be some churn. Gueye's got to go if you're not going to play him. Deneva, I would at the very least put out on loan. I think you're probably right. I think we should do something with Ribeiro. There's no point in having him sat on the bench. for me, that's where you use your youngsters. That's where they fill the back end of the squad. So you might have one keeper, I think, is different. I think you need an experienced backup. But in centre half, if you've got 4 centre halves out of the 3 positions, then maybe the 5th one is a young lad. But can I see us bringing them in? Not really, because history tells us no. Absolutely, there's no reason why not. They know the positions they need to improve. They've known them for ages. The data's already been done. They've told us that, they've been behind in transfer windows previously. All those key players are in position in terms of Gested, Adam Owen, the scouting team, the data system's all been there. They have told us that it's easier and it's more aligned now in the behind the scenes, that the decision-making process is easier. Sahel's already been to India, probably should be back now. So there is no reason from our end why these things shouldn't happen. But I suspect, as every year happens, we'll keep asking the same questions and the media will ask them, where are we up to? Are we going to see new faces? And the same answer will come back. It's difficult in January. Other teams don't really want to sell them. But if you look in terms of the January transfer window as a whole, the last couple of years, what we've seen is a flurry of activity, a lull, and then a flurry of activity at the end again. I think that may well happen. That might mean that some domino pieces fall. I think AFCON will play a role, though. I think teams will be less likely to loan out their youngsters or loan out their fringe players or sell them until people come back from AFCON without an injury. So I think that will slow it down somewhat. But there is no reason why we can't have negotiated for the deals that we want. We shouldn't then be walking into the transfer window and going, we could probably be a striker. I mean, the irony is, Mike, and I make no apologies for this, what we really need is a young striker that's going to be the third choice that you will play when the other 2 aren't available, and we'll let that man go.
Yes. And I'm looking at the squad now, and I don't want to get too much into depth because I know that you're going to lead a video that we're going to do based on the squad, what we've got, where we think we need to be moving. And I don't want to take anything away from that. But I'm looking at the squad now, and there's so many question marks over so many players on where their future lies. I mean, obviously, we could talk about the fact that, there's people with contracts up and so on and so forth. But there's so many players that I just don't know where their future is. And I wanted to mention Pears. Pears has had a really good period of games while Tote's been out. And there's been a lot of people talking about it. Now, I think he's done really well. I think he's been really solid. But the way I'm going to say it is exactly what you said. He's been what I would expect from a solid backup. I think there's been times where with his feet he's looked a little bit overconfident. I think there's times where there's been a couple of decisions where it's not been fantastic. I'm going to go to the Portsmouth game on that one. I do think Tote is the number 1 still. We can't even question that. I think he's going to come back in. He's going to get his place back. And that's going to piss Pears off. And I think Pears is going to then want to leave again, which is absolutely fine. But I think Pears has been playing like you would want an experienced backup to play. Now, when it comes to the rest of the squad, there's just so many question marks everywhere. And that's what's really difficult. We're forgetting about Gagbo. He still exists. We've got Christy Montgomery, Adam Forshaw, Tavares, Jake Garrett still exists. These are all players that have all been playing games over. When they've been available. I think it's really hard now for us to kind of predict what this squad's going to look like, because if we're being honest, if Ismaël was playing Football Manager right now, he'd be transfer listing near enough the whole squad and just getting rid and bringing in new. And I think that's it. I don't think anyone can really argue with me on that one.
No, I think I'm gonna just glad you picked up on Pears. I mean, I was looking before. Do you know he's got 33 clean sheets in his 114 Rovers games? I think the best compliment I can give to Ainsley Pears is since he's come in, had he been a new signing, I think we'd have been talking about, do you know what? is pretty solid. I'm happy with that. Previously, because we wanted a keeper that was a 7 out of 10. I think he's probably been that since he's come back in the team, which raises questions about, is it because he's fighting for his place, fighting for a new club? Does he need someone challenging him? All those kind of things. Who knows the answer? Probably only Ainsley Pears, if anybody. But I've been very comfortable with him, and I'm never comfortable with Ainsley Pears in the nets, and I have been. I think you're right in terms of the squad. I think the problem we've got in terms of the squad mainly, obviously we've got injuries, but is none of them are people that you would go, do you know what, we're going to struggle to improve on those. Ironically, I think if you look at the left wing back position, for the money that we would generate or the money we've got, I think you'd struggle to upgrade too much on a Hedges and a Pickering in that role. I think Johnson's proving to be a really good, solid striker. I think Ohashi, I would keep in that midst, but I think we need somebody there. I think the midfield, there's an awful lot of meh. It doesn't matter who seems to play out of them, other than Tronstad, who I think has been head and shoulders above anyone else. The rest of them doesn't really matter who plays. You're never overly satisfied with the performance they put in, but you're never horrified by it. And that is the theme across the squad for me. I think you could improve on an awful lot of positions. I think the glaring ones, though, are up front. I think we have to sign somebody to ease that burden.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite funny because I have people throwing values at me of players, and they're obviously going on Transfer Market or using Football Manager, which makes me crazy because, I mean, I've just had a look. I mean, Gueye's technically our second highest valued player behind Todd Cantwell at 2.5 million euros, apparently. And all the way down the bottom, you actually have Ryan Hedges and Ballast Tote and Sean McLaughlin as some of the lowest. Now, I know that they build it on how much they cost and so on and so forth, but it just shows you've got to take this stuff with a pinch of salt. The Pears versus Tote thing. So the issue you've got there is Pears is younger by 6 to 12 months, something like that, than Tote. But I'm just going off the history. Pears could turn out at 27 to now be hitting a prime for a goalkeeper, and it just could click with him. It really could. I just think that Tote is my gut feeling of being my starter. But I think one of them is going to be the starter and be happy, and one of them is going to be the backup and not happy. That's how football is. And the one that's not happy at the age that they're at is probably going to want to move on. There's just so much that needs to be done with this squad over the next couple of weeks. I just don't know what we're going to look like. I want us to go out and actually buy. I don't want us to just fill the gaps with anything. I want it to be that I'd prefer to go and fill one position with someone that is good than 3 positions with meh players. If you want meh players, go to the youth squad, go pick someone up. They will give you a lot more, and you've got more chance of that player actually becoming something than just a meh player that's going to come in and be a Deneva or someone like that that's risky. I feel like, going and getting a good Johnson and spending that little bit more has already proved to be better than just going and getting 3 bargain basement players.
And that's exactly what I was saying. That's why I would pick the striking position to start with. If you can move some other players on, you've got some room for manoeuvre, fine. But I think when we get bodies back, we've enough 6, 7s out of 10 everywhere else to get by. I don't think, look at our defensive record, it's not a major issue. I think we are doing okay there. I think you've got Carter to come back and can he get himself a new contract because he's in that land at the minute. You've Wharton to come back, can he displace? Probably McLaughlin for me. I think you've a couple that you could move on. People like Ribeiro, if you bring in a Ben Gibson in. But I wouldn't be in a major rush to ship anybody out right now. I would just be saying, right, maybe Gueye. I think if you're not going to play him, you might as well get rid of him and then try and raise some funds, raise some space in the squad, raise some space in the wage budget. But I would go all out for somebody of the funds of Good Johnson. I think it's proved when we spent that little bit more that the quality tends to be there. and we are lacking severely. And I think I will get a different profile player. I will get somebody who's got a little bit of pace, because that's the one thing neither he or Hashi has. Maybe they see Cogbo as that man. I personally don't, but maybe they do. But that's where I would target. In terms of Tort and Pairs, I agree with you. I think I would have Tort as number one all day long. It's closer now than I thought it would have ever been. Tort was obviously back on the bench last night. Would you start him against Wrexham? Would that be New Year? He's back in?
No, I'd wait for the FA Cup game now. I think for the mental state of a goalkeeper, I think you say to Pairs, look, Tote's back. He's had some good training sessions under him, because obviously you got 2 games quite quick together. FA Cup game's a perfect chance to rotate. You put Tote in the sticks, and then you just say, right, let's see what happens now. And if Tote comes in and he looks solid and there's no mistakes, you just say to Pairs, Tote was our number one. He's back in the sticks now. Thank you for everything you've done. Be ready. We might need you again. And you just play it that way. I think the timing of the FA Cup game could help a little bit there. If Pairs had done something really egregious, maybe, but he hasn't. I mean, I was picking at the Portsmouth game. I think he should have done better with a couple of things, but that's me picking. You've got to have him. I think for his mental state, I think you would break all relationship, I think, if you take him out now.
Yeah, no, completely agree. I think, and I don't think he's the sort of player you'll move on in January. I think he's more of a summer man. So for me,
unless someone gets a really big goalkeeper injury and they come in, I agree.
And I think he's done really well. I think he has done really, really well. But
I'm concerned we're starting to go into the video you want to do. We're teasing people here a little bit. Do you want to explain the video you want us to do later in the week, and we'll get out there?
Yeah. So we're looking at really the squad, how they performed, but buy, keep, sell. What areas do we need to invest in? What style of player, what attributes do we need to be going and investing in? So we'd like to know your opinions, really. Who would you buy? Maybe not specific people, but what sort of player? For me, it's a pacey forward. Are you the same? Do you think we need experienced defenders? Is it a fluke that George Pratt's playing the way he is? Do we need to get somebody experienced in? Would you ship out Deneva? Would you ship out Tavares? Obviously injured, but would you cut your losses with him? Would you send Taylor, Gardner-Hickman back? Because I would. And I'm not back at work till Monday, so I would drive him if anyone wants me to. But yeah, let us know your thoughts.
Great stuff, yes. And obviously do all the good stuff and like and subscribe while you're there, because that really helps us. Now, Mark, I just want your quick opinion on something before we move on to the kit. Sheffield Wednesday tickets. Can you just give your opinion on that one? Because it caused quite a stir, this one.
Yeah, so when you've got digital tickets, you would imagine that they can just stay on sale, but there are logistics. There are stewards that they need to employ, kiosks maybe that they need to open. Rovers were quite clear, weren't they? That it did seem illogical, but they were quite clear for me that 23rd tickets were off sale. Does seem bonkers, but that's the way it is. They have to send certain ones back to Sheffield Wednesday if they are not going to be sold. There's possibly an element of they have to pay for them if they keep them longer or whatever it is. They got in contact with Sheffield Wednesday and they managed to get a paltry sum of, was it 290 or something? So there's a lot to have a pop at the club about. I don't think that's one of them personally. You?
To be honest, I didn't look into it in too much detail. There was other stuff I was concentrating on that day. I could just see social media having a little bit of a pop. It did feel like, I am an IT engineer by trade. It did feel like it was a bit more of a technical thing, but I completely get what you're saying now. So yeah, I'm glad you've cleared up a little bit on that one. Now, before we go, the new kit. Now let's talk about the marketing. before we get onto the kit itself. So we don't seem to be able to release a kit properly between videos accidentally going up, between things being shared on social media because someone's leaked the kit. It just all seems to go wrong for us. And this kit was leaked, and it was obviously leaked properly because it was the kit that we saw. Now, why are we getting this marketing so wrong? Now, I have heard rumours about, they wanted certain sales of certain shirts to go up before they released it. But they've really dropped the ball on the marketing on this side and the timing. I mean, I love the video release, and we'll get onto the shirt itself, but the timing's pretty atrocious, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think people need to be careful, and that they're not blaming the marketing department as such. I think every football kit, unfortunately, gets leaked. I think this one was slightly different. I think the fact it appeared on another website that was selling it probably leans to the fact that a release date was given and then changed, which would tie in with the rumours. Why you would not have a 150th anniversary shirt played in on the 150th anniversary and then sold that day, cashing on the demand, job done. The fact that you would release it just after Christmas, just before the 126th year, and apparently they are wearing it on New Year's Day in the 126th year, says everything you need to know, let's just say, about the football club. But what I would say is the video and the details of certain things, that's the marketing team. That was brilliant. The timing of the release will be absolutely nothing to do with them. So I think separate the two, because there will be good people who have probably been at the football club for a long time who are, won't be on fortunes and will probably be as frustrated as we are.
Okay, I apologise to them for saying the marketing side. I didn't mean the video itself. I meant the timing of everything. I do get what you're saying. I think the thing is, I've loved every kit release that we've done. I've loved how we've done it, even back to, Birdie wearing his shirt and stuff. I love how we do the kit releases. I think they're really nice. It's very rare I come away from a kit and I'm absolutely against it. And I like how we've done it. I liked how we did it, but the timing is absolutely terrible. And the thing is when it was leaked last time and then they ended up just sticking the video out, I felt like that was just going to happen this time, but surely, I mean, it's going on limited release. You can go into a ballot to win, to obviously have the opportunity to buy one, and so on and so forth. They've done all of this. Surely they would have made more sales if they'd just literally said, whoever's come to this 150th game, if you've got a ticket for it, you have the right to buy this shirt. Bring your ticket to the club shop, and you're allowed into the club shop to go and buy one. Something like that. And it would have caused that stir. People would have been well up for it. But just after Christmas, money's been spent. You're all scraping around thinking about getting to the next payday. And then they go and release it on 80 quid a shirt, 200 quid, is it, with the box? And then they go and put it, they're just not thinking about why that kit is available. That kit is available for the fans. This is what support these. When these shirts are sold, they are for the fans. So you need to do it for the fans. Otherwise, everyone's just going to be on all these, dodgy websites trying to get a fake one, and you're going to lose sales that way. And that's exactly what's happened with these other shirts. They need kit manufacturers and companies now, and football clubs now need to realise that if you want to go and get yourself a shirt nowadays, you're on from 15 quid from some dodgy website. So you need to make it more realistic of why you would want one from the club. So to add it extra in the box, don't add extra on the box. Just make that part of your selling point. Just say, you can go and get one from a dodgy website if you want, or you can spend 80 quid to get a real one with the proper box, with a special certificate and something else in. And I bet you, and do it actually on the day of the game, and you're surely going to sell more that way.
I genuinely don't know But I believe that the plan was something around the Derby game. Obviously, it wasn't 12:30 kickoff all the way through the planning stages. Was to have it on sale. That's when you go and get it. Between the times of the two games would have been another sales window. After the game, people are, oh, go on, do you know what? I'm going to buy it. All that kind of stuff. I'll get one for Christmas. That was all part of the marketing, as far as I'm aware. I think the fact they've used quegs and little details of it are great. They've used the Maltese cross. I think the only thing that did confuse me was I've seen people back and forth about whether it should have been halved or a Maltese cross. The Maltese cross is the first shirt, and I get that. But if you're going to go down that route, when they're using the old image of the team, surely that team should have had the Maltese cross.
The Maltese cross,
they've gone with the first half shirt. But I think some of the details of it are great. I actually really like the shirt, but again, the bit that's really ruined it for me, forget the timing now for a second, is I'm just going to read what it says on the website. For those who want something truly exceptional, a further limited run of just 500 boxed shirts have been produced. So I'm like, oh, what's this going to have? Price, £199.99. So that's 120 quid more. 120 quid. 500 only. Okay, what's it going to have? Only season ticket holders can buy it. Right, okay. What's it got? Individual numbered hip tag from 1 to 500. Oh, what else? No, that's it. You've got a tag on the side, 1 to 500, and a box. The 125th shirt I've got came with that as well. The limited edition, they should have a number on them anyway. They should come in a box. 80 quid in the box with a number on. Do you know what? I'm probably going to do it. 80 quid without a box just after Christmas. I get paid on the 15th as well. I'm your target audience. I buy anything Blackburn Rovers, really. And I'm not sure I'm going to buy one.
Well, I've put in for the ballot. I would like to have the opportunity to get one. If not, I'm sure the dodgy websites will do me proud. But there is something about having a genuine collector's item for your club. I regret not getting the Kappa one. That was a big regret of mine. I didn't have the money at the time, so it was just never even a thing. But as far as I'm concerned with this shirt, I think it's nice. I agree. It was a bit weird that we didn't have the actual Maltese cross on the original photo. Didn't use one of the original teams that wore it. But yeah, I like it. I just feel like the price for the box is ridiculous. I mean, I get 80 quid for the shirt for a collector shirt. I understand that based on today's prices, but if I'm paying 200 quid for a box, it needs to be a pretty special box. It needs to be a pretty special shirt, and I want it hand delivered by Ryan Hedges himself. If I'm going to be paying that kind of money, so I think, I mean, just have a sign team photo in there or something. I mean, it's 500. It's not that many. Just put something extra in the box. That's the kind of thing I'm thinking. But that's the negative side. I like the kit. I mean, obviously, it's split opinions with a few people, but I like it.
Yeah, absolutely. I do like it. It's one of them I'll probably end up trying to. But one final thing. Fair play to Watson Ramsbottom. Rovers fans sponsor the shirt. Could have ruined it by insisting on having the sponsor on there. I've clearly said, do you know what? Absolutely not. That would be disgraceful. Probably do them be bad PR. But I think on the flip side of that, they deserve a mention because they've not got their sponsor's logo plastered all over it. Makhtar have chosen to go with a white logo and still keep theirs on there. But yeah. Fair play to Watson Ramsbottom. I think that's the benefits of having a local company with Rovers fans supporting the team.
Yeah, love it. Well, we'll call it there, mate. It's been a good podcast. We've done 1 hour and 23 minutes. So we do love talking Rovers. Obviously, thank you everyone for listening. Put all your comments down below, like what Mark said, what signings do you want, which players do you want. An interesting one as well is, I was asked, who do you think our best player is at the moment, or who are our best players. So I'd like you to list them as well. What's your thoughts on loaning players, loaning experienced players? Do you like the try before you buy, or would you prefer just to go straight out there and purchase? So anything like that, make sure you put your comments down below. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go on to X and ask some questions on how we structure the podcast. What's your thoughts? Do you like the things that we do? But again, comments down below. But Mark, thanks for joining me this week.
Thank you very much, Mike. Hope you've had a lovely Christmas. Have a lovely New Year.
Yes, and you, and hope you all have a good one. Like we said before, be safe, be sensible, and hopefully the next time we talk, we'll have some points in the bag. But until then, have a good one.